Hey everybody, TJ here at TalentBin, one of your customer success team leads. Today's video is a very special topic. We are actually expanding TalentBin into a new vertical. So kind of the way things work here is that we take an industry vertical, certain types of positions in the market. We try to get really good at it, get great data, contact information, and then make your life easier with some automation. And then we find a new industry vertical and move into it. So we've already done the same for software engineering, design professionals, healthcare professionals, and now our next vertical we're moving into right now in October 2015 is finance. So let's talk a little bit about what that's going to look like, and then we'll take a quick look into the product. So as I mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about high-level overview. We won't spend more than 5 minutes on that, and then introduce you to the new data sources that we have in place for finance. And then finally, I'll spend about 5 minutes in the tool running a search. So this is not intended to be an entire comprehensive training in TalentBin. We will have those videos available on our support site, or you can reach out to your product specialist. But this is really meant to be an introduction into something shiny and brand new. So let's dive in real quick. All right, so you may have seen this slide if you've been with us before. This is kind of our view on the technical, recruiting landscape in the past 20 years or so, right? In the mid-90s, you have your monster career builder Dice dominating the market. Everything changed a little bit. 2003, when LinkedIn entered the world, kind of introduced this idea of passive recruiting, right? The ability for candidates to create a profile, but not necessarily submit a resume or actively apply to a job. And then, of course, where are we today? We're in this world where everybody's online and everybody's contributing in different places, and whether they really realize it or not, they leave behind a ton of clues about what they're interested in, what they like to do, and what they're skilled at. Right? And so what TalentBin aims to do is really gather information from all of these places and tell you, the recruiter, what someone's all about in a 360-degree view. Okay, so we call these implicit resumes. They are not resumes that created by a candidate and handed to a recruiter, but rather an aggregation of data that becomes like a resume in a sense. Okay, so let's keep going here. An example for software engineering talent, right? This is where we started TalentBin. Obviously, a huge need in that marketplace. So you look at someone like Cameron, right? We found him on Twitter, we found him on Facebook, we found him on Meetup, Stack Overflow, GitHub, and Quora. All of those places tag this person with Ruby on Rails, right? So we get a pretty good sense that, okay, he's going to Ruby hack nights, he's answering questions related to Ruby, and he's following those topics on Quora. Well, guess what? This guy is probably a Ruby developer. We're pretty confident in that. So that's kind of where we came from historically. Then, like I said, we did the same thing for graphic design folks, people who are designing interfaces, right? We crawl sites like Dribbble and Coreflow, Behance, and now we've done it with healthcare, crawling state databases for nurses and doctors. And where are we going next? Well, here we are looking for finance talent. So how are we going to do that, right? We're crawling a few specific sources, one of which is the FINRA database. So if you've been recruiting finance for a while, you know exactly what that is. It's individuals who have taken finance series exams before, right? So we are crawling that entire database. It is a public database, but we are hopefully making this information a whole lot easier for you to search on and kind of pick apart. And once again, we're going to crawl sites like Twitter and Facebook, who definitely are going to have some clues and information, right? Maybe titles or places they've worked. Maybe they're tweeting about finance, or they even in their Twitter summary mentions that they're a financial services representative, etc. Then we're also going to be moving into CPA databases later in the fall and winter this year. So we're gathering that information now. It's going to be available for dissection probably December 2015. So keep an eye out for that stuff. And then, of course, places like the patent database we will continue to crawl in case those sources are valuable from a finance perspective. Okay, so we take all that data, and like I mentioned, we make that into a profile for a candidate. As you can see, Sarah here, right? Broker at UBS. We found her Facebook, her Twitter, her Meetup, her FINRA profile, right? So we get a really good sense for which series exams Sarah has passed. Okay, a little bit more on those sources. I already kind of got into that a little bit, but FINRA, obviously, Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, and we're going to pull out of that data on series exams. So if you're looking for someone who's passed their Series 6 or their Series 7, we will have all of that data in TalentBin. And like I said, coming soon, the CFA Institute and then state databases for CPAs, PAs, etc. So you'll be able to search in California, for example, for folks that have their CPA license. Okay. All right, so here we are in my account. So let's run a search for a finance professional. Always first things first, I'm going to create a folder that's just going to help me stay organized. What am I working on? This is a series. Let's go with the series 7 professional. All right, San Francisco area. Okay, add that folder. Now everything I do from this point forward will be saved there. TalentBin will actually ask you, can we help you with this search? You can actually copy and paste a job description. It will help run a search for those keywords. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to do it on your own because I think it's fairly simple with most of our finance positions. With a long software position, the automatic search is definitely super helpful. So I'm gonna do an advanced search. I always recommend doing that. Here are some of your search options in TalentBin, okay? We always kind of go with keywords first because a lot of the data we pull is from, summaries and interest and skill sections. There's a lot of keywords. So let's go ahead and look for Series 7. Start there, right? That's what I want. I want someone who's passed that Series 7 exam, that information to come from the FINRA database, okay? If I want to add and statements to that, I would add field here and say, okay, well, you know what else would I be looking for? Well, it would be really nice if they came from an investment banking background. I'm going to pull from the investment banks or maybe even commercial banks or private banks. I'm going to search banks top 50 US. These are what we call explode terms anytime you see this little plus here, and that means TalentBin is automatically searching for a number of synonyms for you. So all of the major banks are in here. We also might want to say, well, they could come from an audit or advisory background even. So we maybe take people out of the big 4 accounting firms. That's a tag as well. That's not going to be required in my search. That's kind of icing on the cake, if you will, nice to have. So I'm going to toggle this over to nice to have. So that's going to be an optional term. If they come from these companies in their past, they will be at the top of my search results. Okay, let's add again. What's something else we might want to consider? Well, maybe some nice to have job titles, right? Someone with a Series 7 license might have a broker, title, or maybe financial advisor, right? Okay, so I add those to my search string. So if they have those positions, they'll come up to the top, but I won't lose everyone else because I made it a nice to have term. With finance, what else might you consider? Well, sometimes folks are picky about schools. I want them to come from a top business program. We have both top 25 and top 50 US built in here. So top 50 program, if they come from, Stanford, GSB, Harvard, Berkeley, some of the top programs, I'd like to see them first. So we've built out a list of all the different spelling variations for those top schools. Now, okay, where am I searching? Well, I'm searching in the United States, obviously, in 94105 is my zip code here in San Francisco. I want to set a radius at, let's say 100, just because some folks might be willing to relocate within the Bay Area. Obviously, it depends on your market, where you're searching. Also, I want to tell TalentBin, hey, you know what? Maybe one of my personal struggles as a recruiter is I don't have enough contact information. So I want to find only the people that TalentBin has contact info for right now. Okay, that means email or phone or both. The other thing I might want to do with this person is say, okay, well, I want this data to come from the FINRA database because I know that's really reliable information, right? You can actually filter by certain network types. So you can say, well, please show me the data from the FINRA database or show me profiles that have data coming from FINRA. Okay, so now we have a pretty comprehensive search built. Let's go ahead and run it. We currently have about 1,200 people, in this area in San Francisco with email addresses that match all of these criteria, right? Now, actually, we are currently, and I mentioned this or alluded to it before, but we are adding about 20,000 email addresses for finance professionals to TalentBin every single month. So, as you can imagine, next month this number will probably be double, if not higher, right? And it will continue to grow as we continue to grow this version of the product. So, anyways, let's take a look at Colin, right? So, Colin, a title of broker at Robert W. Baird. We found him in a lot of different places, right? If you hover over them, we'll tell you what they are. FINRA, for example, Twitter, you recognize, LinkedIn, Facebook, okay? So let's take a look at Colin's profile. We open up Colin's profile here, tells you, once again, where we found him, some of his major keywords. Notice Series 7 is highlighted, okay? And it came from, like we requested, the FINRA database. If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see all of the different exams that Colin has taken, right? So we have Series 63, 7, 87, and 86, okay? You can also see some of his company background, where he's worked, some of his schools. That's why he came back, because UCLA is a top 50 business program, okay? It's not like, okay, cool, I'm sold, I want to talk to Colin. I would contact, okay, on email. Right? We have his email address. We filtered by only candidates with email. And then you can choose from a list of your templates. I'm actually going to use one of my old templates in here. Where is it? Let's use this one. And the kind of interesting thing here is TalentBin, this is a new feature as well, is automatically going to pull data from particular pieces of Colin's profile to make a personalized message. Pretty cool, right? I checked out your FINRA profile. Not many recruiters are going to be able to say that. Okay, and we noticed your equity research skills. If you wanted to mention things in here, I checked out your FINRA, your LinkedIn, noticed you're good at equity research and internet advertising. But we could flip these things out. He's also interested in video games. We pulled that from his personal interests, right? So you could switch these things out and say, oh, well, I noticed you're interested in entertainment. Plus, I checked out your Twitter profile maybe instead of LinkedIn, because a lot of recruiters say LinkedIn. So you can easily flip those things in and out and send a really targeted personal email. So remember those kind of recruiting pains I showed you a little while ago? This is where those should start to kind of come back into your mind, right? Do you struggle with personalizing messages because you don't have time? Well, this should kind of start to answer that question for you, right? Or was it follow up and response rates? Well, with TalentBin, you can actually choose an automated follow-up campaign that you build, or we have some simple ones in there for you already, or you can reach out to someone like me who will help you build one custom, right? And when you select one of these, what happens is Colin will get an email from me every few days until he replies to me, or until a set time frame where I designate that the whole campaign will just stop, and then Colin will no longer receive messages from me. But anyways, I don't need to send this message now. I'm not recruiting Colin, but I thought that would give you kind of a good overview for how to run a finance search in TalentBin, what a finance profile might look like, and then kind of the other best practices in terms of sending him a targeted email and using automated follow-up. So hopefully this has been valuable, kind of a quick intro to the finance product, a finance vertical within TalentBin. Please feel free to reach out to us with questions as always. And happy purple squirrel hunting to all of you. Have a good one.